Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart, and this time we're talking about my Nintendo Direct predictions for June 2022. I still think there's going to be a Nintendo Direct this month, and I think it's going to be a big one, something comparable to previous June Nintendo Directs, the ones that have been the E3 Nintendo Directs. Even though E3 is cancelled this year, I do believe there will be a Direct, so in this video we're going to be going into what I think is going to be showing up in this Direct. Now before we jump into things, though, I will recommend that you maybe check out my social media. There's a few things linked in the description below. You could also leave a like, it definitely helps me out a whole bunch. But without further delay, let's actually get into the video. So, let's first talk about this Direct happening or not. Yes, I think it's happening next week. I predicted initially that it would be happening on June 14th, which would be a Tuesday. Why? Because if you look at the history of Directs, at least during the Switch era, they've all happened on the second full week of the month in June, and it's actually the Tuesday of that particular week, and it's been that way consistently. The only time it hasn't been was, well, in 2020 when the pandemic really broke into full force. Otherwise, we've gone consistently a big E3 Direct June 2nd week on that Tuesday. That's how it's been. So that's why I'm still predicting it's going to happen the same way this time around as well. I could be wrong, of course. There might not even be a Direct. So don't be surprised if you see another video of me speculating about what may happen if there isn't a Direct. But we're assuming there's gonna be one. So for the sake of this video, let's just assume I'm right and, you know, the history holds and there's still a Nintendo Direct. And I do think there's good reason to believe so, besides just it always happening every year pretty much. If you look at everything else, Sony's putting out stuff, Microsoft is putting out stuff, all the big game companies are putting out something. The reveals are still happening around this time. And even Pokemon recently revealed some information for Scarlet Violet as well. Usually about a week or two before the big E3 Direct, we see like a Pokemon Presents or some sort of blowout of information for the next big Pokemon game. And while it wasn't a full-on presentation like it usually is, we still got the big trailer, which is usually the bulk of the information we get in those presentations anyways. So I feel like we're pretty much on pace to see a fairly big show from Nintendo, because all of their signs are sort of pointing towards it beyond Nintendo themselves confirming that it's going to happen. So when's it gonna happen? I'm predicting Tuesday, but now that it's already Friday as of this recording and there still has been no announcement yet, there is certainly some concern. But something that I think is worth noting here is that yes, in the past Nintendo has announced the E3 Direct about a week or two in advance. Because there is no E3, there is no reason to announce an E3 Direct so E3 can put on a public schedule so people know what's going to happen. Nintendo can announce a Direct whenever they want. It's basically how they usually handle all other Directs. So, based off all other Directs, pretty much they are announced a day or two in advance. So, perhaps this Monday, we could get an announcement for a Direct the next day, on Tuesday, or at any time that week, let's say Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, there can be an announcement for a Direct to come out a day or two later. I'd say if we get to Thursday and there's still been no announcement for a Direct, at that point, we should probably assume, okay, it's not happening this week, but that doesn't mean it can't happen in the not so distant future. But anyway, like I said before, let's assume we're getting the Direct next week. Even if it's not on Tuesday, at some point next week, I still think it's fairly reasonable to expect one. So what will be in this Direct? Well, I am assuming this Direct is going to basically be the replacement for an E3 Direct, so the significance of it, the content of it, the breadth of it, I think will still be comparable, and I still think there will be a treehouse footage following it. And actually, because Nintendo's not holding themselves to a particular schedule, like last year where they had to be more concise and have things fit in a certain block, we could be seeing even more content. So in years past, we've actually seen Nintendo put out a number of hours of gameplay of Treehouse following the Direct, not just an hour or two, but maybe 4 to 6. So I'm actually thinking we're going to be seeing more gameplay this time around than less. So I'm predicting 4 to 6 hours of Treehouse gameplay following a 40-ish minute Nintendo Direct. But what kind of content will we see in this Direct and Treehouse? Well, in terms of the known quantities, definitely expect Splatoon 3 to be featured, definitely expect Xenoblade Chronicles 3 to be featured, but also Bayonetta 3, which they've been pretty quiet about, will also be getting showcased as well, I believe. It will get a firm release date for this year. It already is slated for this year, but an actual specific release date, like day and date, month, all of that, and all 3 of these games will have significant treehouse gameplay. But I think there will also be more than that. I think there'll probably be at least 6 games showcased during the Nintendo treehouse. Another one, Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. That's going to be a big deal as well. Probably will be the best-selling game that comes out this year from Nintendo. So all 4 of those games are going to be getting treehouse footage after the Nintendo Direct, and all of which will be featured to some extent during the Direct as well. So in terms of big known releases, those are my expectations, but there are a few other things to consider. For example, Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. That's been delayed quite a few times already, well, 2. And I think we're going to get a specific release date this time around, and it will be coming out this year. I'm not sure when this year, at the very latest December. That may seem kind of obvious. I'm kind of hoping it comes out sooner. Maybe it comes out like in the later summer months, like so in other words not too long from now. But I think there's a really good chance we see this game again with an actual specific release date. Now the game's been delayed somewhat in respect of the global situations going on with the wars and such. I think they will now feel comfortable releasing this game, even though those issues are still going on. This game does need to come out. I think they've already done their due diligence in terms of releasing the game in good taste. So I think it will be getting a release date, and we will see more of this game during the Nintendo Direct. Now, will there be treehouse footage? That I'm unsure of. And I'm mainly unsure of it because I feel like Nintendo already kind of showcased the game before it was gonna actually see a release date. I don't think there's been any significant changes where they need to show off more of the game beyond just another cool little trailer. There may be treehouse, but it kind of depends on what other games they want to showcase. So let's get into games that I think are going to be getting a firm release date. So another one is actually Mario + Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Mario + Rabbids Kingdom Battle is the only known Mario-ish kind of game coming out this year. It has, you know, Mario in the title. So I think it's kind of important that they come out with something Mario, and I think this may very well be it. So it's going to get a release date. It's already slated for this year, and we're going to get confirmation of it actually coming out this year. I actually think it's going to make it out for this year. It's not going to get delayed. But if it is delayed, it will only be delayed by a few months into early 2023. And I also think this game will be getting a treehouse segment as well. So we're already looking at 5 games to get treehouse segments during the Direct. But there's another game that I think will also be showcased in the treehouse, but we'll get to that a little bit later, because I want to focus a little bit more on Mario before we move on. So we know that there's a Mario movie coming out next year. It was actually going to come out this year, but it was delayed. I think there's a chance we see a trailer for that Mario movie now. I was more committed to this idea before the Mario movie delay, but I still think there's a pretty good chance we see the trailer during E3's, or not E3, but Nintendo's Direct this time around. But given that it's not slated until next year, there's a number of other opportunities for Nintendo to put out the first trailer for this movie. So we may not see it now, we may see it a little bit later, maybe a September Direct, maybe at the Game Awards, maybe not even at some sort of big gaming event, just, you know, separately as a big social media drop on one random day. That's another huge, very likely possibility. But let's also keep in mind, they're probably going to give us more than one trailer in the lead up to this movie. And at this point, I feel like we have to be within about a year of its release, right? So I think this time around, this Direct could be the time we see a trailer for the Mario movie. Now you may argue, that's a movie, not a video game. Why would Nintendo show it then? They don't talk about the parks during the Directs. Yeah, not really, but they did give us a whole bunch of voice actor reveals back in the September Direct of 2021. So they've already shown that they're willing to talk about the Mario movie during a Direct. So what's even bigger and better than voice actor reveals? Well, an actual trailer of the movie itself with actual cutscenes or, you know, actual footage of the movie. So I think there's a pretty good chance we could be seeing a trailer of the Mario movie in this June Direct. And continue this train of thought of Mario content, I think we could be seeing an actual internal Mario game getting revealed as well. It's possible Nintendo finally teases their next big 3D Mario project, but I'm not really expecting even a teaser of that until next year. What I think we might be seeing though is perhaps an announcement for a 2D Mario game. I think it could even come out this year. With everything we already know about for this year, there's a couple other things I'm expecting Nintendo to sort of slot into their lineup, and I think a 2D Mario game could be one of those options. It's been a long time since we've seen an original 2D Mario game, and I think it might be the right time to do it. I think Nintendo could come out with a 2D Mario game before the release of the Mario movie and lead up to it as they sort of market both things, and then afterwards, not too long afterwards, we start to see that 3D Mario get marketed and pushed, and that comes out after the Mario movie. So it'll be a bit of a big sort of Super Mario sandwich. 2D Mario, Mario movie, 3D Mario. So I actually think there's a decent chance this is the way things could shake out. Of course, there's a possibility Nintendo hasn't even been working on a 2D Mario, so maybe we don't see that anytime soon. And if there isn't a 2D Mario, I think Nintendo could have something else ready that wouldn't be Mario related to help fill out the lineup for this year. And one of those couple things I think Nintendo might have ready to sort of help fill out the lineup if they don't have some sort of other Mario game to actually come out this year is Pikmin 4. We've seen Nintendo sort of building up to the release of Pikmin 4, we've seen Pikmin 3 Deluxe, we've seen the Pikmin mobile game, we've seen Pikmin featured in the Nintendo Universal Parks. There's a build-up here, there's an actual plan here, and I think it's going to culminate in the release of Pikmin 4, and I think given that Breath of the Wild 2 has been pushed into next year, and there's a few more games that Nintendo could fit into the second half of this year, Pikmin 4 is a really good choice. So if we don't see an awesome new 2D Mario coming out this year, I'm gonna say we see Pikmin 4 coming out this year, one or the other. If I'm wrong about both, I'm sorry, but hey, these are my predictions. I don't actually know what's for sure going to happen. But I don't think it's just going to be Pikmin 4 or 2D Mario that's going to help sort of fill up the year. I think there's going to be another product that is from the Metroid franchise. Similar to how Nintendo's been building up the Pikmin brand, I think Nintendo's also building up the Metroid brand. We've seen how they've handled Metroid Dread and all of its marketing and the sales it's had. It's the best-selling Metroid game ever. I think we're also going to be seeing the release of a new Metroid game for this year. And I am not talking about Metroid Prime 4, I'm talking about a Metroid Prime 1 remake. I believe the rumors because they're coming from credible sources. I think we are going to be seeing Metroid Prime remake come out this year, and it's going to be featured in perhaps either a September or October release in celebration of the 20th anniversary for Metroid, so maybe even comes out in November. That's a possibility as well. Sometime in that 3-month window, we're going to be seeing it, and I think it's going to be a significant remaster, something similar to Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, where the visuals are significantly improved to the point where it looks pretty much like a modern game that would be running on, well, the Switch, obviously. I think this remaster is going to be a pretty big deal, it's going to be pretty exciting, and it itself is going to be a pretty good teaser for Metroid Prime 4. But on the note of Metroid Prime 4, I also think there's a chance Prime 4 could finally get teased as well. They might not tease it because, I mean, heck, there's so many cool things that they could be showing off. I don't think they're going to tease every single thing like a 3D Mario, 2D Mario, Mario trailer, Kid Icarus remake, and then Metroid Prime remake, and then Metroid Prime 4, and a whole bunch of other awesome things. These are all possibilities, but not every single thing is going to happen. I am predicting Metroid Prime remake, and I do think Metroid Prime 4 will be mentioned to some effect, but I'm not thinking for sure it's going to be like a significant full-length trailer for Prime 4. But maybe they give us a little bit more than just saying, hey, development is going well, because they've already done that. I think maybe they could do a little bit more than that. Maybe they have a little bit of a discussion on a little bit of the direction of the game, and maybe they could sort of talk about how Metroid Prime Remake is sort of a foundation in terms of gameplay for Prime 4. Maybe that's what we could get, and I think that alone would be pretty darn exciting. So I mentioned in passing Kid Icarus Remake. I do not think that will be showing up at this Direct. I'm not even sure if it's actually a real thing. I do think for sure that Bandai Namco is working on something for Nintendo because we literally saw listings for it, so it's not like a rumor, it's factual information. I think a Kid Icarus remake could be what they are working on. There's a possibility of that, a good one. But regardless of what it is, I'm not so sure we see it this soon. I think maybe that's something we see a year or two from now. So I'm not predicting that, but I'm simply sort of explaining my sort of mentioning of it, and I have had a video or two talking about it already not so long ago. Beyond everything else that's sort of brought up, the only other thing I'm sort of expecting are a Zelda announcement or two. So I do think there's probably going to be some sort of Zelda release for this calendar year. There's a possibility Nintendo finally skips a calendar year for Zelda, but they've been pretty consistent throughout the Switch era. So I am thinking we'll probably get something Zelda this year since Breath of the Wild 2 has been delayed to next year, and I think probably the best bet is a Twilight Princess or Wind Waker HD. These games have been rumored for a long time. The story is that basically Nintendo's waiting for a rainy day to release them, And if they're not going to release them now, when will they? So I think there's a decent chance they come out now, and considering that Breath of the Wild 2 is slated for spring, which to me screams March 2023, which isn't even really like that long from now. So like I think maybe a 6 or 7 month window before the release of Breath of the Wild 2 is fine. Maybe we see the release of this Zelda pack, if it is a Zelda pack, in September, around then, give or take a month. That's conceivable for me, and I can see that happening. Heck, maybe we don't get both, maybe we just get one. But I definitely think some sort of Zelda remaster or port is fairly likely for the Switch to sort of hold us over until we get to see Breath of the Wild 2 next year. Hopefully it's not delayed again, spring 2023. But on that note, yes, I do think we're going to get news for Breath of the Wild 2. I don't think Nintendo's going to go quiet about this game. I think they're going to finally blow the lid off this game. We're going to get a nice, decent, long trailer, 3 to 4 minutes long. It's going to give us a good understanding of the story, more about the gameplay. They're going to have some cool confirmations. We will get a title reveal. We'll see a boss or two. We'll see some dungeon gameplay. We'll learn a little bit more about the combat mechanics in the air and beyond. And we'll get a look at a few more cool rune or whatever abilities are going to be called this time around with the special maybe Zonai hand. I expect to see all of this in the trailer, and I also expect there to be a treehouse demo for Breath of the Wild 2. If the game is coming out spring 2023, usually when they say that, it's because they want it to come out to close the fiscal year. They usually want to have some sort of release to close the fiscal year. Breath of the Wild 2 is obviously a great fit for that, so they're probably going to also want to start to market and show it off, not just with this trailer, but also with some treehouse footage. We're less than a year away from the release of hopefully less than a year away from the release of Breath of the Wild 2, presuming it comes out this March as Nintendo is suggesting. And I think we're going to get a pretty good lengthy treehouse segment on this game. So my predictions for the 6 games that will be shown off in the Nintendo treehouse, because I'm predicting 6, each one will get like a 30-minute segment, is Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime. Oh wait, you know what? Let me go over my numbers here. I guess that's 8 games. So let's think about this. The known games: Splatoon 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Bayonetta 3, but also the Mario Rabbids game. So that's 4 games right there. Breath of the Wild 2, 5. I think Metroid Prime Remake has to be featured as well, so that's 6. But then also Pokémon Scarlet Violet needs to be shown off as well, so that's 7. There should be one more game. I feel like there's got to be an even number. So let's say it's Pikmin 4. There you go. They each get a 30-minute segment, and that gives us 4 hours of gameplay. That, to me, is fairly conceivable. If they have more, well then, you know, maybe some of those games get smaller segments, and there's other things shown off, like some third-party announcements, things of that nature. Maybe Sunbreak, for example, for Monster Hunter Rise. So they actually could even get up as high as 6 hours. I think there's a pretty good chance of that. But anyways, those are my predictions for this June Nintendo Direct that hopefully comes out next week, and it's a glory to behold. But only time will really tell, and we're really just a few days away from finding out the truth. And if not, at some point or another, Nintendo will be giving us information on pretty much everything I talked about today. So that's all for now, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.